watching UNO with Dr. Ambrish Saxena.
Hello students, today is Thursday 19th of December 2019 and I welcome you this morning in 69th episode of DME UNO. Citizenship Amendment Act was implemented on 11th of December and within 2 to 3 days, number of public interest litigations were filed in the Supreme Court. Yesterday, the Supreme Court took up these petitions, agreed to listen to them but refused to provide stay on the operation of the Act. One day before, on Tuesday, the Supreme Court, while hearing again number of petitions with regard to the constitution of an inquiry commission to look into the violence that was happening in Jamia, AMU and other educational institutions, the Supreme Court refused to take up those petitions and asked the petitioners to move to the respective high courts wherein the violence would have taken place and request there for the constitution of the inquiry commission. The Supreme Court, while it was requested to listen to the petitions with regard to violence pertaining to Citizenship Amendment Act, the Supreme Court said that it will not listen any such petition till the time the violence stops. The Chief Justice of India, Bobde, said that prima facie there is little that the court can do in this regard because it's primarily a law and order issue. Evidently, the Supreme Court finds little merit or deferred merit with regard to cases related to Citizenship Amendment Act. And if we look at this act, as already has been told to you, this is about granting of Indian citizenship to the nationals of these three neighboring countries, Afghanistan, Pakistan and Bangladesh, but this is available only to 6 religions, the religions which are in minority in these countries, which include Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, Parsis and Christians, and the deadline for this has been fixed as 31st of December 2014. Supreme Court has agreed to listen to all 59 public interest litigations which have been filed with regard to Citizenship Amendment Act. These PILs have been filed by different kind of organizations which include Indian Union Muslim League, also the Congress leader Jairam Ramesh, the number of human rights organizations and the NGOs. Supreme Court has agreed to listen all of them by clubbing all the petitions. The Supreme Court has also agreed to look into the submission that was made by lawyer Ashwini Upadhyay regarding publicizing this act, and the aims and objectives and the content of this act need to be told to the people. The Chief Justice agreed on this and asked the Attorney General KK Venugopal to do the needful in this regard, and even it was suggested by the court that audio visual method should be used to explain the act to the people. Venugopal agreed on this and assured the court that the government will do the needful in this regard. Though the Supreme Court has agreed to listen to all these petitions, but as far as the next date of hearing is concerned, the Supreme Court has put it as 22nd of January, which is more than a month. This means the Supreme Court has not found the case of any immediate importance. The court has gone on the winter vacation now and it is reopening on 2nd of January. Meanwhile, as advised by the Supreme Court on Tuesday that regarding violence on the educational institutions, those cases should be taken to the high courts. Yesterday, 2 public interest petitions were filed in Delhi High Court. The High Court accepted those petitions and the hearing is starting today. Now moving on to another story, this is also related to Citizenship Amendment Act. And to tell you this, that Citizenship Amendment Act is not the first act of its kind wherein a distinction or discrimination has been made between the nationals of the three neighboring countries of India on the basis of religion. This act is FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act. And as per the provisions of FEMA, any citizen of the three neighboring countries, that is Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh, if that citizen has come to India on a long-term visa, can buy a property here. But here also that mention has been made that only the minorities from these three countries, and the same 6 minorities have been mentioned here, that is Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis and Christians. So only they are allowed to buy property in India, and there is an omission of Muslim. This means Muslims are not allowed to buy property in India. Now looking into the details of FEMA. FEMA grants permission to the minorities of these three neighboring countries, as I told you, to buy 2 properties in India. One property can be bought for residential purpose, but then it has to be self-occupied. The other property can be bought for setting up an office for starting a business. But then there are conditions attached with this, and the conditions are that no property can be bought in a restricted or protected area as notified by the central government or the cantonment board. And whenever the purchase is happening, the required documents need to be provided to the concerned officials, which include the source of the fund, then the papers related to nationality or citizenship of the buyer, and then also the documents related to long-term visa. And all these papers also need to be provided to the concerned officials while the registration of the property is being done. So as per the FEMA regulation, this facility is available to the minorities of the neighboring countries to buy property in India if they have that long-term visa, but they are not allowed to dispose of their property. If they want to sell their property, then firstly they have to acquire the citizenship of India. Till that time they are forbidden doing that, but they are allowed to transfer their property with the permission of the DCP, that is Deputy Commissioner of Police of their area, or from the concerned officials of the Foreigners Registration Office or the Foreigners Regional Registration Office. FEMA also has the provision that if any member of this minority communities from the neighboring countries on long-term visa buys a property, but then later on it is found that that person is involved in anti-India activities, then that property can be confiscated by the government of India. But as the provisions of FEMA indicate that in the case of Muslims, that determination seems to have been already made. That is all in today's edition.